Quickly wanted to get into a little more detail about the Google Finance function. Specifically going to focus on the price functionality of it. There's a lot of other things you can do with the Google Finance function in Google Sheets, but this is related to my Create an Amazing Stock Portfolio Spreadsheet in Excel or Sheets, and I'll put a link to that post and to that video down in the description. There are a couple different things you can do with the price attribute and with the Google Finance function, and I made some examples here to walk through. So as you can see, the first one, you can have no attributes. As you can see here, you don't even necessarily need to specify any attributes with Google Finance. If you don't, it's going to assume simply that you want price. So got my ticker here for Tesla, and all I entered in this cell here, C4, is equals Google Finance and C2. If you're curious about the dollar signs, you're not really familiar with spreadsheets, that's just an absolute reference is what they call that, and that's just so I could copy this around and not have to retype in C2. So don't worry too much about that. The dollar signs, they're just a little something extra added to the formula there for my convenience. So it's as simple as that. Equals Google Finance, and then you could type in Tesla in quotes here, or you could reference a cell, and I would prefer to reference a cell because in that case you can always change it to something else. AMZN, for instance, and see how everything that's referencing that cell is updating. So anyhow, that's my recommendation, but do as you please. Okay, so the next example, like I said, using the price attribute with Google Finance is where I actually specify price. Now this is a little redundant. You can see it brings up the exact same result as this cell did. All I did was type equals Google Finance C2 and then price in quotes and got the same result. So there's really no point in putting price in there unless you go on to do something which I'm going to show you with the next examples. In this example here, which I just had to update if you're wondering why that changed, here's what the formula looks like. Equals Google Finance C2, we're referencing Tesla. We want the price, but in this case, we're doing price with a start date. Okay, so start date, what does that mean? It means the beginning date that we want to go fetch the price for. Since we're not specifying an end date yet, it's just going to get the date for that specific price. Right here, we specified January 1st of 2019. Now, the stock market was closed on January 1st, of course, for New Year's Day. So it just brings up the next day, which is January 2nd of 2019, the next trading day, tells you what the close was then. Notice how I entered the formula in here and how it brought in that date header because I specified a start date and a close header, and then gave me this information, okay? All that was populated just by this formula, those 4 cells. If I delete that, for instance, you see it all disappears. Put it back, all reappears. So the next example, logically, is if you can enter a start date, you can enter an end date. And that does what you might expect. It's going to bring up every price between those days. So here's our end date right here, January 31st. So we're looking just at January of 2019 with a start date of January 1st, 2019, and an end date of January 31st, 2019. So we type that formula here. We've got equals C2, tells Google Finance we want Tesla. Price specifies the attribute. We've got our start date, and then comma, end date. So that's there, and here we are. It brings all this information in. I will also let you know that I formatted these dates so they look a little cleaner. They're going to come in initially like this with the time, 1600, which is 4 o'clock, I guess, which is when the closing price is official. I don't know. Anyhow, that's what it does. So to show you how flexible this can be, we could, for instance, do the first quarter of 2019 by simply changing this to 3/31, 2019. It's going to load for a second, and boom, here we go. See as it goes on, I didn't format these last few cells. the dollar or with the date, but you can see it goes on, and there you go. So that's a quick and easy way to get a automated update of closing costs for a period of time. And you can actually go above and beyond this with the Google Finance function, but that's a topic for another video. Now let's change this back here, 1/31/2019. Okay, we'll look at the next example. This one's similar in that we specify a price with a start date and then with a number of days. You might ask yourself, well, what's the difference? 30 days difference between January 1st, 2019 and January 31st, 2019. Why, this is redundant also. But it's not exactly, because in this case, number of days is going to refer to trading days. See how it goes well into February, halfway through February there, in fact, because we specified 30 trading days. And since the market isn't open on weekends or holidays, this is what we get instead. The benefit of this, I guess, would be if you wanted 250 days of history for a particular stock. Well, you don't have to sit there and calculate what was 250 days ago, not counting holidays, not counting weekends. If you manipulated this particular function correctly, you could just get a rolling 250 days of history for a given stock. And as you can see, we entered equals Google Finance, specified Tesla, specified the price attribute, had our start date, which is C10 right here, but then G15, which is the 30 days. Okay, so the final example is price with a start and end date, but at a weekly interval. You want to look at a little longer term, or you don't want to take up so much of your spreadsheet with a bunch of data by date. You're more interested in what's happening week to week. Then all you've got to do, same thing as previously, Google Finance, specify your ticker, price attribute, start date, end date, but go ahead and put another comma and tack on weekly at the end. And you can see what it does here. And it updates with every Friday's closing price. You look here, January 4th, 2019, 63.54 was the close for Tesla. That matches here, 69.45 for January 11th. Same thing, it's flexible. Whatever you want the start date and end date to be, let's take this to 12/31, whole year's worth. Okay, we can see every Friday here, Thursday in some instances, I would assume, because like Good Friday, holidays and that, but you can keep in mind that the formatting you're going to have to probably mess with, because it's going to come in kind of rough, but that's easy enough. And there you go. There's 52 weeks of closing price data for Tesla. Anyhow, again, I make this to just go into a little more detail about the Google Finance function. A lot of things you can do with it beyond this. If this video proves to be somewhat popular, I can go into more detail on those, but it's kind of a test run, and again, is serving as something of a complement to my Create an Amazing Stock Portfolio Spreadsheet in Excel with, like I said, links to those down in the description. That's all I got. See ya.